So, Katelynn, what's your last name?
Blackburn.
Katelynn Blackburn. So, what is your background?
Background is medical insurance.
Medical insurance. And
no sales.
What was that schedule like?
Horrible. It was 12-hour days, sometimes nights, and I was working for someone, not for myself. So
great. And you were recruited to go to a different company,
mm-hmm.
and you feel pretty fortunate that you didn't do that and you came directly to this one. What's your experience been so far at FFL?
Yeah, amazing. I mean, when I was recruited for a different company, I just didn't really know. I didn't have any knowledge in insurance, and I wanted out of my current situation. So when I heard about Family First Life, I really had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, I'm going to jump in because it sounds and looks great. Too good to be true, really, but like have nothing to lose, so I'm going for it. And I mean, I went all in, so I think that contributed to my success extremely.
So you say all in, but for people who are listening, what does all in really mean?
All in means, you're giving it your all. Like, I quit my job. I had no money at all, and I put every last dime into this business, and it paid off. So
you burn the ships to just start out the gates, and it takes a special kind of human being to do that and not want to bet on themselves.
Yeah.
Have you always been very self-confident, or was it just that your mentors told you this is what you should do and you knew you needed to do what your mentors told you to do?
I think I've always had like the entrepreneur mindset and really wanted to do something that, I could control my own destiny and my own income. But as far as like, what were you saying as far as?
So like,
believing in yourself.
Being able, because you just said that you came from a position where you weren't really that ahead and you had no money, but you were willing to invest your last dollar on yourself. Like that takes a special person. Like, I wish I could find a lot more people like that, Rob, because that doesn't happen very often. Yeah. It's like, hey, I got $500 to spend when they got $1,000 in their bank account.
Right.
And it sounds like to me that you just said whatever you had at that time, I'm going to put it all into this business.
Yeah, no, I believe in myself, and it proved itself. As long as you work, like, I feel like you can be really successful here. And when I felt like I had nothing to lose prior to this, so putting that into this, like, it is taking a risk. I'm a single mom, so that was really risky to just go out and, spend my last dollar. But I do have confidence in myself that I'm going to make it work. So if I want something, I'm going to make it work. So
that adds a whole nother layer into this. I didn't know you were a mom. So you're a single mom. Mm-hmm. And you wow. So it's funny how people play. Like, you play way better when you're up against a wall. You got no choice but to make this happen. Excuses go out the window.
Yeah, totally.
Like, there will be none.
Zero.
And how old are you?
27.
You're 27, and through 2 weeks of June, what are your IP numbers?
This month, it's pretty high.
Yeah, what is it? That's why we're interviewing you. So we've got some context here. Katelynn is not just an average agent.
I think it's close to 40.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's life-changing.
It's 38,000. I pay attention to leaderboard.
38,000 and change.
Yeah.
And that's your situation is different now. That's like a year.
It
income,
completely
right?
changes your life. If you put in the work, it's going to completely change your situation. 6 months ago, I was making $2,400 a month.
Wow.
And very unhappy with
that's
what
your daily
doing.
rate now.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
It's really insane.
So we're very interested in what you're doing. Your work ethic speaks for itself, but we want to break it down into details because Gage calls me last night. He's like, I don't even know this girl, but everybody needs to know what she's doing. So let's get her in here. Let's learn about you. The more we learn about you, it's more admirable. It's cool as heck what you're doing. So let's break down your lead strategy, what you're spending on leads, what type of leads you like to run, obstacles that you've faced and overcome, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, definitely. So when I first started, because I didn't have any money, I put my last dollar into leads, and I knew I was going to have to do that. So I wasn't afraid of necessarily, the money aspect of it, because I was like, well, in order to make money, I'm going to have to spend it as well. So I went and did that. And then my first day out on the field, I doubled my monthly income. I made like $5,000. So
wow.
I was like, That's crazy. What do I have my hands on? So when I made that, you know, I was like, this is going to change my life and my daughter's life. So I'm going to figure out how to continue to multiply, you know, make more money, spend more money. And I invest everything back in the business. So if you're not willing to do that, I don't know how successful you can be, because if you are not willing to put like that money back, I mean,
this isn't for everybody.
It's not for everybody, you know, like you got to really be strategic with where you're placing your energy, your time, and your finances
Tell me this,
Katelynn.
What did your first call session look like? How many leads did you have? What was it like?
You know, I'll just be real with you. It was not what I expected.
Right.
I think it was very humbling. I was like, wow, okay, this is definitely difficult. You know, I'm going to have to sit here and I'm going to have to dial through these leads, and not everyone's going to be really nice to me, but there's going to be, it's a numbers game. There's going to be those ones that are very like thank goodness you called me, you know, because I was really looking for this information. And then there's going to be other ones that you have to weed through, you know. And I sat on my living room floor and just had my paper script in front of me and dialed the phone, like just manually dialed the phone.
Did you practice your script at all before your first dial day? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd read it. I'd read it in the car. I listen to YouTube videos, podcasts all the time. I think that if you plug in, you'll be very successful. Like, everything is right in front of us. It's the people that don't, you know, plug into the system.
What does that mean to you, plugging in?
Like, get on calls and listen to podcasts. Listen to what people are saying on the phones. Stay connected and don't try and, like, reinvent the wheel. Like, it's already there, so don't try and go and like do your own thing and try and make this work, because it won't work for you if you do it that way. You know, you're going to get way too frustrated.
Was there a specific video that really helped you in the beginning, or?
I mean, the boot camp was really helpful. And then whenever I had like a question, I would just look it up on YouTube, and then I'd find the answer in the videos. So, you know, I tell my new agents, like, if they have really questions about anything, like, you know, I can help only so much, because you can go find that information anywhere. It's everywhere. The training here is incredible. Anytime you type something in on YouTube, you're going to find exactly what you were looking for.
Yep.
And you have to be self-motivated and self-sufficient. You know, that is like huge, you know? So
going back to that first call session, did you have any moments of doubt of like, what the heck did I get myself into?
100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the first person that said hello when you dialed?
I was so nervous. Like, so nervous. I still get nervous, you know? It's just one of those things where, yeah, like, you know, I just would follow the script. I still hold my script. Like, it's like my blanket. And I just sit there and I read it and I get through it. And then if an objection comes up, you know, you get better, you know, with the rebuttals. But at first, yeah, it was rough. Like, absolutely. You know, the people say, I'm not interested. And you're like, oh, okay. You know, you're not really sure what to say.
How many people did you have to talk to before you set your first appointment? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but it was probably close to 10.
A bunch.
Yeah, 10 to 20.
At that fifth no, you're probably like, when am I gonna
like,
get? They told me just make calls. What's happening?
Or like, when is somebody gonna answer? Or you know, but putting your time in on the phones, like protecting that time is really important, because when you don't set yourself up for the next 2 days. And I realized that from the very beginning, when I was like setting only a couple appointments for the next 2 days, and then, you know, you'd end up with a cancellation, and now you're like back to the phones, you know. So
yeah. So was every day dial day for you, or did you have the dial day, you run your couple appointments, because it sounds like you didn't book 8 to 10?
No, I didn't.
Your first day. Did you dial every single day, or how did you speed up that learning curve? Because the phones is 80% of this business.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you weren't confused on that. Mm-hmm. But people get mentally discouraged very quickly because they get the no's and things of that nature.
I think that to this day, I still dial whenever I need to. So if I'm not satisfied with what I have, I'll go back and dial the phones. You know, in the field, if I get no-showed, I'm back on the phones. you do get better with the phones as the more you do it. So now I can do it when I'm driving. When I first started, I feel like that was like a mental block for me, where I felt like I had to be sitting down with my script and my rebuttals and my leads and everything perfect to dial. Now I don't do that anymore, because it's not as complicated as you think it is. There's going to be, it's just humans, people can be very inconsiderate of other people's time, and you have to get over it. It's not about that, it's about finding those people that really want it. So taking that, the emotional part out of it and being like, well, I'm just going to dial the phones and like while I'm driving, and let's see who answers.
It's the freaking necessary evil of the business,
It is. Mm-hmm. You can't get away from it either. Like, you got to keep doing it, and you're going to get better.
Well, I think you made a very interesting point where you say, I still get nervous on the phones. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about a girl who's #1 on Jordan Lowry's agency, #1 producer, still gets nervous on the phones, but still hops on the phones. And what it is, it's uncomfortable, but then you start to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And that's what gets really cool. I mean, my hands still sweat when I make calls. Yeah. I'm almost 2 years into this thing. Like, that doesn't go away. You just get used to it. And then your scripts, you become more of a person. It's actually just communicating with someone who's looking for your help, rather than thinking like, I got to say this word, I got to have this objection ready. There's only 4 objections really out there, 4 or 5. It's not a whole like plethora of things to overcome. It's, I'm busy, I'm not interested. The same things. It's not like they're getting any better at that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so it becomes secondhand.
Do you track your dials, or do you just dial until you get enough set?
I don't track them. I should, but I just dial until I get enough set.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a darn thing you're doing.
Yeah.
You get the results. I'm a big believer that you throw stuff out into enough good or hard work out there, like you're going to get some stuff back. So fast forwarding to your first day in the field, you said you hit the jackpot on a good appointment. Was that your first one, or did you get no-showed or any no's before that?
So, I mean, when I went out by myself, I feel like I just followed the structure. Like, I had like the agenda in front of me, and I was really nervous, and I thought I needed to know a lot more than what I actually did know. And then once I got through it, I was like, this is like the simplest like sale, really. It comes down to the simplest thing. I didn't really have to know anything about insurance. I just basically had a understanding of what they needed, and treated them like, the human being that's in front of you that's asking for your help, and controlling the situation, because they really do want you to tell them what to do in a sense. They don't know what they're supposed to do, and you have a little bit more understanding than they do. So if you control that situation and get through it, then it's as simple as submitting a request for coverage at the end of the day.
Exactly.
That's it.
And I think that one thing that I've really noticed from you, Katelynnn, is that you write a ton of Americo. And so you've kept it very, very simple. We lead with Americo. They're our #1 insurance carrier that we utilize. Was that voiced to you from Bowen or Josh or Nina or Hayden? Yeah,
definitely. Nina has said that multiple times. Americo's great, and they do have the best coverage, like the living benefits, all of that. I'm always leading with Americo, and if I can't, then I'll pivot elsewhere. But I'm trying to get everybody with Americo if possible. Yeah,
you're not confused on that's what FFL's bread and butter is. They have great coverage, and you get an answer in the home. Yep. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me is I think people overcomplicate it, because we do have 6, 7, 8 carriers. But if you just focus on one and lead with one, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, you can run everybody through Americo, right when you get there. You can run them through and see what happens. And if you have to pivot elsewhere, you can. And it's not, don't make it some weird, awkward thing. Oh, you didn't we can't submit this application. It's like they know. Yeah. If you go through Americo and they are automatically out of that application, they knew that.
It almost creates more urgency. And you said 2 things that I want to hit on. So you said, I thought I needed to know a lot more than I did, but I didn't, because they don't hit you with too much stuff. And then you said you just know a little bit more than they do, and that's key. So for new agents that are getting all wrapped up in product knowledge, I got to know every little thing about every product. Like, break that down. That doesn't matter, right?
product knowledge is very small.
How much time did you spend studying products before you went out in the field?
Barely any. I watched Grady's video on the boot camp. That's it.
Right. What about you? What about you? Did you spend much time on the products?
Man, I didn't spend any time on the products, to be honest with you. Jordan just said, get out there, take a full financial inventory sheet, and call me.
Me either, yeah. I love that about our business, too, because then that cuts the learning curve. You could spend a month just studying products.
Totally.
It doesn't matter. You're going to sell Eagle or you're going to sell a Term 125. Like, it doesn't friggin' matter.
Yeah.
Or a CBO policy, and all of them do the same thing. So break down your thought process behind that. You just got to know a little bit more than they do, because that gives you a lot of confidence, that awareness to know you don't have to be an expert.
Because you don't get a lot of questions. Like, I thought I was going to get a ton of insurance questions, and you really don't. You need to know basically the difference between whole life term products, and that's it. You know, are they looking for final expense? Are they looking for mortgage? Are they looking to leave a legacy, or they just want to be buried? Like, you know, and care about them. Like, care about what they want. You know, what do you want? Do you want to be buried, or do you want to be cremated? And give them an idea of how much that's actually going to cost, and paint the picture of what it's going to look like for them. Because, you know, before I started this, I didn't really, you know, understand what went on when somebody passed. Like, how expensive it was, how hard it is on a family, like, the financial burden that it leaves behind. I didn't really understand that until I met some of these people that, you know, most of the people requesting this information recently went through something like that. Right. They know what that looks like. They've lost a family member. They know that they want this to be taken care of. So then it puts it in perspective for you. So when you move on to the next person, you're like, okay, like, you know, I don't want that person to have to deal with that. So
that's good stuff.
You know, like it does help when you have that understanding. You don't really need to know a lot about insurance, but you do need to know how to care about people.
That's huge. And one thing that you said is that you just have to listen to them. You have to hear what they're telling you. And you're just like basically an order taker, a problem solver. And for some reason, we want to complicate that. It's just really going over to someone's house and listening to their story and figuring out a way you can help them. And I know obviously you've been selling at a high level, but have you run into anybody that's like, I want 100,000, Katelynn? And you know very well that they can't get 100,000, because we can very easily say it. We just listen to them and write them what they want. But I imagine you've run into that before, right? Where like, I want 200,000 of insurance. Like, how do you handle that before it becomes a problem when you're showing them products?
Well, I'm pretty honest with them when it comes down to, like, if they're thinking they're going to get like some $100,000 policy for like $15 a month. They've either been quoted wrong in the past. They did not have someone that was even remotely knowledgeable in insurance.
So Gage is 72. He had a heart attack last year on blood thinners and wants $100K. Can you role play how you're going to explain to him that he's not getting that?
Yeah, well, Gage, whole life insurance, they don't offer $100,000 for whole life. The max that you're going to be able to get is going to be somewhere around $30,000. And financially, we have to find out what's feasible for you to be able to sustain that, you know, month after month, year after year. So we're going to look at the different options here and see what fits in your budget. But when you say you want $100,000 of, you know, whole life insurance, you're looking at more like a term product or accidental at that point.
I love that. It's just being real with them, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but you brought it up twice. You said what's feasible and what can fit into your budget.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's what's most important. It's like, look, you're not going to get $100,000 of coverage for what's going to fit in your budget.
What your budget is.
Yeah.
Right.
And like breaking down their budget. You know, break it down for them. Like the importance of it has to be high, you know, like for them to actually realize that they need this. And then think about, like, just picture in your head, like, if they don't get this. I think that's why my close ratio is so good, is that I actually do picture in my head what it's going to look like if I leave and they're not protected. You know, because I do get the same rebuttals as everyone else, or objections as everyone else. You know, like, no, I need to think about it. Like, I can't do this. Like, no, we definitely can't afford that. Or, you know, and you just have to really picture in your mind, like, what's it going to look like if I leave Pamela and Al here without them at least submitting a request for coverage, you know? And, you know, you it makes a difference.
So let me ask you, you say that you need to break down the budget. For most new agents, it's very uncomfortable to ask somebody about a stranger that you go into their home's budget. So can you kind of dive into how you go through that process and how you were able to ask those questions out the jump? Because I feel like a lot of people kind of fray away from those tough, uncomfortable questions, Rob. But it goes to show, if you ask those tough questions early in your career here, that you can build serious momentum on.
Yeah. At first, I was really nervous to ask all those questions because I was expecting them all to say, like, well, why are you asking me that? You know, and so
that's something that you were thinking. You were putting that mental
I was
barrier.
thinking that, not them.
Yep. What was reality?
Reality was, as soon as I stopped thinking about what was going on, like, in my head with what they could potentially say and just followed the inventory sheet, people answered me straight up, like how much they pay in their rent, how much their mortgage is, if they have any 401ks, stocks, IRAs, bonds, anything like that. They tell you, and it's not nearly as uncomfortable as you think it's going to be when you're asking those questions. It's the same thing as asking somebody what prescriptions they're taking.
Exactly.
It's the same exact thing.
With you, it's almost like you're diagnosing a patient, and you give them the confidence because you're confident going in. They want to give you all the information so they're not misdiagnosed. I think something a lot of new agents do, and I preach this thing for the last 10 years of my career, is like your budget is not their budget.
Totally.
And it's always value over price. So you can't put your you can't make your financial situation their problem. You never know what people are willing to pay. Some of the grossest houses I've ever been in, they've had the biggest budget for insurance because they need it more.
They need it more, yeah, and they're going to place value on it more than some of the other ones. So you really never know. So once you ask those questions, you can get a better idea of like where you're going to pivot with that person. I was going to hit on something along those lines.
The budget. So you said you break down the budget very well, like. Obviously, on the financial inventory sheet, it talks about the rent or the mortgage.
Yeah.
Do you dive deeper into utilities, bills? How do you like kind of transition into that?
Well, it depends on like if they're on Social Security or just retirement or on disability or anything like that. I kind of break it down with what they're receiving also from the government as well. So like, are we receiving, are you getting assistance with food? Are you getting assistance with this? Like, so that I have an idea of where they can actually put that Social Security money and that they're going to be able to afford it, Even if it's small, the smallest policies, like, those people really needed it. So, find something that works for them. I do ask all those questions, and when it comes down to, like, I think new agents get nervous about asking, like, the sensitive information, like social, bank, I got really nervous about that at first, and now it's become so second nature that it's like literally just go through the application. I need your Social Security. I'm going to need your ID, a blank check, please, and they don't hesitate. It's when you start being weird about it.
Yeah, delivery is
like,
key.
The delivery of it, it's like, okay, dang, like I've had people literally say to me when I'm sitting at their table, like, oh, wow, like she's really doing this. Like, okay, I'll go get that check, or when I want to sit at the table, I've had people say, oh, you really want to sit at the table? I was like, I sure do. Like,
But it's the confidence that they can feel that. And people love directness. And we've talked about that before, Rob. And the more direct you are with people, the better results you're going to get.
They don't know how to handle it.
You can't just walk around and like not really know what you're doing. Like, it's going to be really uncomfortable for them, and they're for sure not giving you their Social Security number. Like, they're like, this girl doesn't even know what she's like doing in my house. Like, I'm not doing that. But if you lead with that confidence and the directness of, I'm going to need all of this information up front, you also get better at managing your time at that point. Because if they're not going to give you that information from the get-go, you can no longer help them. So why am I here at this point? And at first, I used to go through, like, every little thing, and then finally I'd get to the social, and then they'd be like, okay, well, I'm not going to waste my time any longer, because now they know from the very get-go, like, she's sitting at the table, she has her binder out, she's asking me all these questions, she she's going to need an ID and a voided check. I wasn't confidently going in there and asking for it. It was kind of like, you know, I'd get to that email part and then I'd be like, okay, can I get your social security number?
Yep.
And just kind of like look up at them. Like now it's like, okay, social. Okay,
I
you
never
know,
look
and
at
do
them.
not
Yeah.
look at
Never
them.
look
Just
at 'em.
continue. Like you're not doing anything wrong. Like, you know, I think sometimes we think like we're, you know, selling them or like their bank's gonna get overdrawn or something crazy like that. You can literally be like, no money is being taken this moment. Like you're gonna be okay, you know, and make that a reality for them.
And it's not your problem. It's your job to
get them
identify the
coverage.
need and to get them coverage. What happens from there, that's on them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, you've got a lot of confidence in the house to say, if this is like what you just said about, I'm going to go on to the next one. That confidence has to come from the activity that you're generating. So how many appointments are you setting a week on average to get these results you're
15.
getting? 15 per 2 days?
Yeah, per 2 days.
Yeah.
So, you know, I could probably be running more.
And 30 will do it. 30 will do it for you.
Yeah.
That'll get it done.
I could be running more. I just think that I, you know, have not quite figured out the time management of not being late to every single appointment. So, like, I'll go and the appointments that I set, I also solidly book them. So I feel like those people are there most of the time. So I'm not messing around on the phone. I'm not going to let you hang up on me and still show up to your house. Like, I'm not doing that.
Is there anything that you think you can think of or contribute of what you just said that I set good appointments? Like for new agents, how can you help them understand what a good appointment is and what a quick set or they just want to get you off the phone type of appointment that was?
Yeah. Asking good questions on the phone. It all comes back to asking the right questions. Like you need to know if they're married. Both people need to be there.
Nobody wants to get one-legged.
Yeah, there's no way that any decisions are going to be made without both of them sitting there. I've definitely made that mistake in the past, and it's not fun. It wastes your time at the end of the day. Making sure, finding out their schedule. Like, are they working? Are they retired? Are they disabled? Are they going to doctor's appointments today? Asking all those questions and then making sure that they know, like, are you good at keeping your appointments? And please put that on the calendar for me. I don't want to be left on your doorstep. And like in California, it's like hot out there. So I like when I'll like joke around with them and say, I just really don't want to be left on your doorstep sweating because it happens. Like, you know,
that's very human of you. And people like that.
Yeah. It's like, please don't leave me on your doorstep. And, you know, then at least it gives them an extra, like, in their mind, like, okay, I'm going to consider her too, you know, like, and consider my time. Like, I am very busy and I have other people that I can get to. And I am confident that I have enough people to see each day that I don't really need to worry about the ones that are not going to show up. And I think a lot of new agents struggle with that because they're looking at this from an aspect of, they're looking at, like, how can I make the most money quick? That's not the way you need to look at this. You need to look at how can I help the most people quick, because the money will come. At this point, it's just it's a byproduct. It's stupid. Like, it's just it comes in. It, you know, if you keep the activity up, you're going to be able to you're going to be compensated for it. But you don't need to focus on, you know, the sale. People, they can smell that all over you. Yep. Like, oh my gosh, this girl needs my money. Like,
I think it's
no.
You put the ball back into their court by holding them accountable, by saying, you're not going to leave me on the doorstep sweating, are you?
Yeah.
It almost pushes it back into their court, like, wow, I don't want to leave this girl sitting on my front porch when I submitted this request.
Yes.
She's trying to help me.
Mm-hmm.
You figured this out quick, like the questions to ask, so you don't get no-showed, so you don't get one leg, like, it's really impressive.
Because I don't like to be no-showed. I don't like to be one-legged. And I'll figure out a way to not be, because I'm not going to waste my time with people that, you know, are going to do that with me. I'm like that in all aspects of my life. I'm not going to put energy into things that are not going to even put energy into themselves.
Right.
You know, like people that don't put energy into themselves, like, let's not put a bunch of energy into them, you know?
So when you've obviously picked up on key things really quick, like Rob just said, was it more of you being a self-educator and teaching and seeking the information, or was it you really relying on your team and the leaders that you work with? What would you say about that?
I mean, I look up to the leaders that I work with. I think that they do an amazing job with with their own business. But at the end of the day, it's my business, and I have to self-educate myself, and I'm not going to rely on someone to, hold my hand to do this, because we don't need that. This is very simple. If you work, you're not going to need that, and it's just a blanket at that point. It's like, I don't want Nina or Bowen or Josh to be like, I want to come with you on an appointment so that I can help you. Or right. I don't want them to be blowing up my phone telling me what I need to be doing. I know what I need to be doing, and they leave me be. If I need them, I will. I have no hesitation in reaching out, but I do not need to ask them how to deal with a objection. If I really need to figure that out, I'll go on YouTube and type in FFL objections, and I'll hear a bunch of different people saying it, and then I'll figure out what sounds best for me.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because I knew that was the answer. And I think new agents need to hear that. It's like, when you self-educate yourself on how to overcome something, or you just had something happen that you don't want to ever happen again, and you identify what happened and then find the solution, that's so much more impactful than you calling Rob and saying, hey, Rob, man, I had this issue, what could I, because realistically, you're kind of just complaining.
Realistically, it's an excuse.
Yeah, it's not that you're really trying to seek the knowledge. It's you're wanting a pity party almost.
Yeah.
Yep.
For majority of people, rather than you just going and finding the answer. And I think that's something that I took ownership in really early as well, is finding the answer, instead of just relying on this one person. Because I realized the person that I was asking everything was just telling me the same thing. So it's like, well, I got to teach myself.
Exactly. Stove touching is important. Like, that's how I learn. It's like, if it's hot, I'm not going to touch it again. Yeah. You don't like getting no-showed. Yeah, that burns.
No,
so let's
horrible.
not do that again. So let's pivot. Let's figure out an approach towards that.
Yeah, let's try to avoid those as much as possible. There's always going to be things that you can't avoid, but let's try and eliminate that from happening as much as possible. So that starts on the phones, just like everything else. It starts with the appointments, how you set them, and from there, like, what happens if I know that I set myself up for the next 2 days. I know that there's no way I'm going to lose. Like, I could get no-showed 3-4 times. I still have enough appointments. I could get a reschedule. I could get a no-sale, but I'm still going to be successful because I have enough activity happening.
What are you doing in your downtime when you get no-showed?
I recruit. So I call people that have reached out to me on Instagram. Like, everyone, reach out to me on Instagram. I'll get back to you when I can, and we'll get on a call. And
so what's your Instagram so people can follow you?
It's at Katelynncarmella. So KATELYNNCARMELLA.
Love that. So you're just implementing what your leaders are doing by using social media. You're starting to pick up traction. You're 6 weeks into this thing, and you're recruiting. And that's really cool, because it took me like 7 months before I hired my first agent, because I was just nervous and I didn't want to share this opportunity because I didn't do it. Did that come from your leadership telling you that you should grow a team early, or was that just you knowing that you wanted to grow something yourself early on when you first started here?
Well, when I first started, I didn't want to share it because I wasn't sure. I wasn't really sure how the whole thing worked, and I'd never been in something like this before. So I kind of kept it to myself, but a lot of my close friends were watching me the whole time, and they trusted me, and they know me, so they followed, and now they're successful as well. As far as recruiting outside of that, a lot of people have reached out to me, just kind of because I do post, and I do think that at this point, not sharing it is kind of selfish. So you might as well get out there and see who else needs that opportunity, and kind of meet people where they're at with it. Not everybody's gonna want to. I have really big goals, and when I first started, I really just wanted to double what I was making at my other job, and I did that the first day. So when I figured out that was that was what was this, that's what could happen here, I was like, well, now my goals are much higher than that. But I realized that not everyone's going to start at that spot, and that's okay. When it comes to, building a team, I think it's more fun. I love it. When I was doing it all by myself versus now that I have, I'm watching them grow as well, it's like you're helping families in the home, but you're also helping like your close friends, people that you don't even know. You get to connect with people all the time. I met a lady yesterday, randomly, Instagram, we got on a call, and she's just like, I just am so inspired by you, and I like feel so blessed that you were placed like in my Instagram feed, and I have been doing this career for a certain amount of time, and she's like, I need a bigger why. So
how does that make you feel?
Amazing. It's awesome, because it's like other people seeing the opportunity for what it is, and the people that like I'll blow up my social media all day long, and if you want to unfollow me or block me, you can go ahead and do so, because this opportunity can change your life financially, and it's very character building as well. So like if you want to become a better human being in general, like you should probably be here.
Yeah, I don't think that feeling ever gets old either. Like
it doesn't get old.
The feeling that you get when you help a family is awesome, but the feeling you get when you see an agent that you helped start into this business make us out, I mean, I'm screaming.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
fired up. I'm flexing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like that's 10 times better than my own personal sales.
It definitely is.
And then it drives you even more because you want to see them successful, and that's when you transition from just being you into we, it's a whole nother ball game. So one last thing that I'd love for you to touch upon, if you don't mind, is that you mentioned that you're a single mother, and trying to find the work-life balance can be very difficult for a lot of people here at Family First Life. So what are some decisions that you had to make mentally to let yourself know that you had to indulge into this to get ahead for you and your daughter?
Yeah, I think that's a really good topic to bring up, just because work-life balance with this is very difficult for a lot of people to figure out. I'm no master at it. I definitely spend my whole day on my phone. That's my business. That's how I run my business. And when it comes down to it, I think about it in the way of, well, this is all for my daughter. This is for her. I'm going to set her up for life, and I don't have another option. This is for her. So she's 3 right now, and my goal is by the time she's 5, I'll have a lot more time with her. So, and I won't be a struggling single mom. I'll be able to set her up. She'll know, as she gets older, she'll know why mom did this. And I only want to raise children that, look up to their parents and be like, they really worked hard for this, and that's what I'm doing. So when I have of course I have those times where I'm like, I really miss her, and I want to spend more time with her, and she's still there. She's watching me. She's with me. She's with me on dial days. We come up with our own little system, but at the end of the day, I cut everything else out besides my daughter to make this business work. So I think that when it comes down to the people that are going to be very successful here with the work-life balance, is that you have to have that conversation with people that are close with you. Just knowing that, hey, I'm not going to be as present as I once was, but that's because it's for you. This is for my family. So, I'm going to make sure that I set them up, not just like, you got to cut out the distractions and stop putting your energy into things that are not going to make you grow.
No, I absolutely love that, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I think when it really boils down to it, when your kids are 5 years or younger, do you remember when you were 5 years old?
Not really.
4 years old? Yeah. You remember one or two things maybe, right? But what you're teaching your daughter is work ethic, and that building a business as well at a young age. And I think Sean is a prime example of that.
And that anything's possible too. I mean, it's
totally.
It's amazing.
Well, the way that Sean had to go through with his kids, and the way that Trevor and Savannah look up to him now, is like, you taught us how to work hard. You taught us that you needed to do whatever it takes to build this business. And do you think that they were upset that he was missing their games and not there with them? Yeah, short-term pain. But now the long-term gain that they have, I mean, they have everything that they could ever want.
Yeah,
right?
And he said something like on one of his calls about, being out of balance for a couple of years to be able to pick and choose what I want to do for the rest of my life. And that really hit home with me. I was like, wow, be out of balance for a little while, put your all into something so that, in the future, I can pick and choose what I want to be at. And you can work from your phone at that point. And now my daughter will be 5, 6, and I get to spend a lot more time with her. So
I love that, and I appreciate you sharing that, because obviously not everyone wants to talk about that, but it's obviously pretty prevalent to see that you're in Dallas right now, right? And you live in California, and you're making the short-term sacrifices for the long-term gains, and I appreciate you hopping on here.
And you're not confused at all.
No.
If you have anything else that you want to hit on?
And no, I just would like to tell you, you're impressive, you're an inspiration, and, FFL is lucky to have people like you. And, I used to say Army of Gages, now it's Army of Katelynn's.
Seriously,
that's what we could all aspire to be like that. So good luck, your future's bright, super excited for you, and thanks so much for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.